Coach Miller, and welcome to All Marine Fighter. I want to talk about a gift that was just given to me, and it means a lot to me because this is a piece of boxing history. He gave me an original ticket to Marco Antonio Barrera versus Manny Pacquiao 1. And you can see the signature at the top of Manny Pacquiao, and Barrera's signature is through the middle, or at the bottom middle there. It's kind of like blurry, but you can still kind of see the signature. But this fight was a very significant fight. And those of you boxing fans know what I'm talking about, because this fight is arguably what was called the dawn of a superstar. Manny Pacquiao was not even really known. He was the IBF super bantamweight champion at the time that the fight with Barrera was made. And Barrera was actually the Ring Magazine featherweight title holder. He didn't hold any of the other organizational belts at the time. But the Ring title was pretty big, and Barrera had already forged a name for himself, and many were picking Barrera to actually beat Pacquiao. But what a fight this would be. We're actually going to go through the fight pretty quickly, and we'll show video clips and things like that, and we'll do some analyzation. And we're going to see why this was the dawn of a superstar with Manny Pacquiao. What made Manny Pacquiao different as a left-hander was that he was a volume puncher. So he threw a lot of punches very quickly, and he was very successful because he has some rocks for hands. You can listen to Keith Thurman's interview about what happened after he fought Pacquiao. He's like, it's like a little rock hitting you. Round one was pretty intense, throwing punches, trading punches back and forth. But there was a controversial knockdown of Manny Pacquiao. You can see that Manny lost his footing and fell down, and the referee didn't see that it wasn't even a punch, and he counted an actual knockdown, which was really unfortunate because even the announcers at that time were saying, well, that wasn't even a knockdown, and replay confirmed that it wasn't a knockdown. But guess what? You're already down 1 point in the very first round. I mean, that could be awfully discouraging, but that didn't deter Pacquiao from pushing forward. We can see in round two, Pacquiao comes back. Oh, his 1-2 flurries, putting Barrera on his heels. He didn't expect Pacquiao to come out super strong. Pacquiao puts his hands up like he's the champ and just comes right at Barrera. And this is going to be a major theme of the fight, because remember, a lot of professional boxers will only pop shot 1s and 2s and maybe a combination 1, 2, 3. But you're going to see a major difference with the high volume punching that Pacquiao brings to the table, and it really throws a lot of boxers off. Hence why he was so very successful. In round three, Pacquiao gets his first knockdown of Barrera. Barrera just sits on his rear end looking at the ref like, what in the world just happened? And then Pacquiao turns up the heat, 1-2, 1-2, 1-2, just throwing the flurries. He's got some nice hooks in there too. And he's just catching Barrera off guard with these flurry punches. We can see in round four, this round was a little bit more even. And Barrera's hitting Pacquiao hard, and Pacquiao's taking those shots like a champ. But he is returning punches to Barrera and just rattling him with every shot that lands. Moving to round six, one of the things that Pacquiao just does, after he throws punches, he steps and moves, and he doesn't sit there and admire his work. So Barrera, we throw him punches back, but Pacquiao's already gone. Pacquiao duck under the punches, throw another combination, 1-2, 1-2, and every once in a while he'll throw some body shots to bring Barrera's hands down. And you can see that those punches are actually affecting Barrera because he does drop his hands because Pacquiao hits really hard. At the end of round six, there's a controversial knockdown. And what's interesting about this is Barrera goes down, but it was from a punch, but it was counted as a slip, which is very unfortunate because in the very first round, the ref called a knockdown on Pacquiao, and you can look at the replay, there was no knockdown. It should have been ruled as a slip, but it was ruled a knockdown, so Pacquiao's down 1 point. That's unfortunate. But in this case with Barrera got hit and he went down. So that being said, it is unfortunate this turned out the way that it is. It should have been a scored knockdown, and maybe it might have changed the course of the fight or pace of the fight a little quicker. Maybe Pacquiao might have gotten knocked out a little sooner once that pressure was put on Barrera. In round 7, you can see that Pacquiao is starting to get the sense that Barrera is faltering, and so he's just laying on the flurries on Barrera. Now, you also see here that in round 7 there was an incidental headbutt. What's kind of unfortunate about this situation is that Barrera tried to pull a fast one. Don't get me wrong, he's a legend of a fighter, but in this case, he tried to pull the crybaby rule. It was an incidental headbutt. It wasn't a blatant headbutt, and he tried to call for a DQ of Manny Pacquiao because he knew he was getting his rear end kicked, and it wasn't going well. And so he was trying to pull the sissy rule out. But that being said, after this fight, he's a great champion, had a great career. And in this case, it was just a little bit of a weakness there. He had a crybaby rule there. He tried to call for a DQ, but the ref was like, no, keep going. Incidental headbutt. In round 8, a very similar thing happens with Pacquiao's head because he's a left-hander coming in on a right-hander, and
you can see once again the right
when you've got two fighters that are both bangers and they want to throw a lot of punches and they're not afraid to stand in the pocket, sometimes this happens. And unfortunately, another headbutt is caused on Barrera, but it wasn't as damaging for this one. But I'm sure it can get a little frustrated. Those of you guys who are fighters, like myself, I've been headbutted before, and it's not fun. It hurts, especially if you get headbutted in the mouth. That's definitely not an enjoyable experience. So the fight must go on, though. Another significant event took place in round 9 because Barrera was going to get awfully frustrated with all the combinations and that type of thing. So when the ref broke him up from clinching, Barrera comes out and hits him. It wasn't like a hard hit or anything. It was just like one of those frustration things where you pop him. Well, the ref had seen enough, and so he deducted a point from Barrera, and that's now Barrera's really down on the cards because not only is he losing the fight fair and square as far as rounds are concerned, but now he has 2-point deductions. So it's going to be a guaranteed loss. So he's getting very frustrated. This is where everything just culminates. Pacquiao's turning on the heat. Barrera is just stumbling all over the place. Look at him. Pacquiao sees it, turns up the heat with his combination punching. 1-2, 1-2, gives the hooks. He doesn't allow the clinch to take place, and he keeps throwing uppercuts, little short uppercuts. And you can see here, boom, just laying it on Barrera, just laying it on him. And yeah, Barrera's just taking a beating. The commentators even made a note here that, yeah, he's losing the fight big time. There's no reason for him to take such punishment, and which is true. I mean, live the fight another day. Get that rematch and then take the win back if you can, right? But to take this punishment will just lead towards, bad brain damage or something, right? So his coach steps in right here, just laying it to him, throws a towel in, and saves Barrera to fight for another day. Now remember that Barrera was the pound-for-pound champ in that weight division, the featherweight weight class. Pacquiao was actually bumping up, so his IBF title was not actually on the line for this fight. But what's interesting is that Pacquiao, up to this point, had never been past the 10th round. So for him to go to the 11th with such a great fighter like Barrera was a huge accomplishment, not only beating him, but beating him in a very convincing fashion. And Jim Lampley makes a very interesting comment. He says, a superstar is born this night, which is true. Little did he know that Pacquiao will go on and have this unbelievable career. What can young fighters learn from some of these great fights that have taken place in the past? It teaches young fighters that step outside your comfort zone. Don't be so concerned about potentially catching a loss. Manny Pacquiao versus Marco Antonio Barrera is considered one of the greatest fights. Now, there's a whole list of great fights that'll stick out in memory, but fighters are a lot of times are only thinking about their paychecks. But imagine if they thought about their legacy. When people remember them, wow, they remember this fight and that fight. Nobody's ever going to remember, oh, wow, the guy made this amount of millions of dollars or whatever. If fighters would just dare to be great, they too could be on a piece of memorabilia where people look back at their careers and go, wow, what an amazing fight. And they're remembered for a very, very long time. If you've never seen this fight in its entirety, it's a great watch. And of course, Pacquiao would rematch Marco Antonio Barrera later on. And that fight was just as good. So I highly recommend going and watching both fights. Tell me what you think about this fight down in the comments below, and or about the fighters themselves. If you like this video, go ahead and click that like button down below. And if you're not subscribed, please subscribe because there's a lot more content coming out. Until next time, stay motivated.